So, good evening and good morning. Let us begin with the Friday study circle, where these days we are going through the Sunlit Path, Words by the Mother, invoking Sri Aurobindo and Mother's grace and presence as we begin the session, aspiring and praying for receptivity as per my capability, so that I can imbibe what I read and put it into practice. Thank you. So last time we had read the passage, pay the price. And okay. So today we have to read effort gives joy. So if anybody would like to read,
Yes.
yeah, I think that maybe Captain would like to read.
Yeah, go. I think Javan is trying.
No, Captain, you can read. Thank you.
Uh, Effort gives joy, and aim gives a meaning, a purpose to life, and this purpose implies an effort. And it is in effort that one finds joy. Exactly. It is the effort which gives joy. A human being who does not know how to make an effort will never find joy. Those who are essentially lazy will never find joy. They do not have the strength to be joyful. It is effort which gives joy. Effort makes the being vibrate in a certain degree of tension, which makes it possible for you to feel the joy. It is only effort in whatever domain it be, material effort, moral effort, intellectual effort, which creates in the being certain vibrations which enable you to get connected with universal vibrations. And it is this which gives joy. It is effort which pulls you out of inertia. It is effort which makes you receptive to the universal forces. And the one thing above all which spontaneously gives joy even to those who do not practice yoga, who have no spiritual aspiration, who lead quite an ordinary life, is the exchange of forces with universal forces. People do not know this. They would not be able to tell you that it is due to this, but so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. Yeah, inviting reflections, if any comments on the passage that we have just read. Effort gives joy. And it's fascinating that how, depending on who you're answering a question to, basically, or who you are sitting in front of, the answer also changes. Like there's joy in quietude, there's joy in doing nothing, and there's joy in effort. And who you are, saying this to would change the answer. So I find that very interesting. So I'll take up the passage now in more details if it's needed. Inviting reflections anytime, feel free to mute and share. So Mother says, an aim gives a meaning, a purpose to life, and this purpose implies an effort, and it is in effort that one finds joy. to do nothing also requires effort. To sit in silence, it's like one would wonder that that too is joy, but that too doesn't come without effort. So, exactly, it is the effort which gives joy. A human being who does not know how to make an effort will never find joy. Those who are essentially lazy will never find joy. They do not have the strength to be joyful. This is interesting because a lot of times, if you interact, if you see people, say, who are lazy, they look really happy, right? Not doing much. So it's quite a, so, what kind of happiness or joy it is and what we are getting, how we are getting it, how transitory or, long term it is. But Mother clearly states that those who are essentially lazy will never find joy. They do not have the strength to be joyful. It is effort which gives joy. Effort makes the being vibrate at a certain degree of tension, which makes it possible for you to feel the joy. It is only effort in whatever domain it may be: material effort, moral effort, intellectual effort, which creates in the being certain vibrations which enable you to get connected with universal vibration. So, when I speak about the word, when I say effort, effort to me mostly seems like physical effort, right? Doing this, or maybe maximum mental effort, like, intellectual. And here, Mother even speaks about moral effort. So, whenever I'm trying to be more than what I am, materially, morally, intellectually, more not all only in terms of gain, but more towards where I want to be, then that is effort. So it is only effort in whatever domain it be: material effort, moral effort, intellectual effort, which creates in the being certain vibrations which enable you to get connected with universal vibrations. And it is this which gives joy. It's like, you tap into the universal joy. It is effort which pulls you out of inertia. It is effort which makes you receptive to the universal forces. So this Mother has repeated this, in this passage we are seeing that this universal forces, universal vibrations, universal joy. And the one thing above all which spontaneously gives effort, even to those who do not practice yoga, who have no spiritual aspiration, who lead quite an ordinary life, is the exchange of forces with universal forces. People do not know this, they would not be able to tell you that it is due to this, but so it is. So the mechanism of joy, how joy is created, that's what Mother has shared with us in this passage. And this, of course, this is like how we say, this is a karte, like this, we do see that an aim gives a meaning, a purpose to life. And this purpose implies an effort. And it is in effort that one finds joy. And that is why, even in the regular world, in our everyday society, this, what do you want, right? What aim, what goal are you working towards? We are made to think, or at least we are given something that, okay, if you have nothing, take this, do this, go there, run there. So maybe that is also a reason for that, so that one doesn't fall into tamas, one at least has something that one would direct their life towards. Yeah, anything anybody would like to add on effort gives choice?
Yeah, uh, what mother says, this is true. I tried to do during this uh, early life, somewhere 20 years or so. At the time, I thought that I must learn some music, how to sing and all this. So that harmonium was the thing on which, and I found some guru who can teach little. So I was practicing every day 4 o'clock. I was already in service in Indian Air Force, but I used to get up because normally 7:30 actually was the parade and all this. But before I used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and there, then I used to that Sare, Gama, Padha, Nisa, and all this. I started practicing early morning because they say that your practice should be always in the morning or in the evening. These are the two giants. So evening it was not possible, so I started practicing, and I just started practicing, and I was enjoying that. Then people they are asking that and I was really enjoying that joy. I was having the joy. I could understand myself, and not only me, even the others also found that though I was getting up regularly at 4 o'clock. Normally people do not like to get up so early in the morning after doing the physical job throughout the day. So, so that was one I really enjoyed, and I 100% agree with you whatever the words have been spoken by mother. And this is really that if we are sincerely wanting to do something, and if we start doing, and we enjoy that actually, undisturbed. Then another thing was that I was trying to practice yoga. So on the net, I saw that there was about 1 hour program that has been given that when you concentrate in the yoga, when you try to do the yoga, how you're getting connected with the world power above us. And they have given that video and all those and all those in this program. And there the vibrations, the word vibrations, it should come once your mind is still, and then you get connected to the top, and from where as if it is something like the mobile battery is getting charged, you get some forces or the vibrations which are coming from heaven or somewhere, and it is entering within you, and you feel that joy, that the mind is so quiet and all. And I was trying for about half an hour or so. Though the in between mind used to get disturbed and turbulent and all this, but again I was trying to bring it back, and I used to really enjoy like any effort, whether physical job or mental job or anything of this nature, whenever we have the sincere effort, and myself, I have felt that yes, I get joy in doing this. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Captain. Maybe we can read just, few more lines on effort, on the incarnate word, like words of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So, yeah, Jagan, would you like to read now?
Yes. 7th December 1969. No effort is lost. There is always an answer, even if it is not perceived. 15th October 1972. Personal effort is indispensable. Without it, nothing can be done. When the when the personal effort is sincere, the help is always there. All sincere effort to progress and get rid of dangerous habits is answered and supported by an active help from the grace. But the effort must be steady and the aspiration must be sincere.
Yes, thank you. The steadiness of effort is stressed on, and of course, sincerity, we do know. Mother says is the most important quality, right? Yeah.
I remember one more story in my life. So it will take 1 or 2 minutes to narrate. It was the year 1966, and I was appearing for my school final examinations. So before the final examination, there used to be a test examination in the school, such that the teacher used to see that whether we will be able to, if our names are forwarded for the final examination board, whether we will be able to do good result or not. So that examination test paper, it used to known as test, was very strict, very strict. To if you get 30% means you surely are going to get first class. Those days it was such very difficult to get that through. So very strict evaluation they used to do, such that we used to prepare because another 3 months are there to appear for the final examination. So at that time, someone told me that see, there will be All Bengal Teachers Association, ABTA. So there are 20 test papers they compiled after the tests are conducted. So somebody said that if you can solve those 20 papers of any subject, and you will definitely get 100 out of 100, something like that. Those days it was impossible, but still. So I did only for math. One day I decided that let me see, because I was very much interested to do the maths and all. So it was a rainy day, and I decided one ream of paper, that is 24 full sheets. That means 96 pages. Loose papers were available those days. So one ream of paper I purchased and shut down in the evening, somewhere 6 o'clock. And throughout the night, it was raining outside, and I solved all those 20 papers. And whole night I didn't get sleep, because if you're doing math and all, you don't get sleep. If you're reading, then probably you may feel sleepy or something, because here you are writing, that effort is there now, writing effort. So there were one or two in every paper which I could not solve. So then on the next day, I went to that maths teacher and I said, that, sir, I have got some questions. I have solved certain portion of it actually, but I got stuck. After that, I'm not in a position to move. He says, okay, bring them. And then he solved. So I found that, I know everything in the maths actually, because it was, anybody was giving me that solve this, and I used to be in a position to solve it. And it so happened when the final examination took place after 3 months and the paper was given, and I saw the question paper was, there are 10 questions will be there, and the 10 question, two parts. Every question have two parts, uh, A and B, or C and D. A and B or C and D. Either you have to touch both A and B, or you have to do C and D. So I saw that everything I know, and I started doing the paper and I have solved everything. That A and B and C and D, everything I have solved. I did not realize that I have done everything, because everything was so clear, as if I have just done in the morning, and in the afternoon they are giving me the paper or something like that. So it was so clear, and I was finding that I have done. So the teacher asked after the examination, how was it? It was very nice and all this. So I got about 89 marks. when the result was announced. But the fact remains. Then I asked, "Have you done this? Have you done this?" I said, "Yes." So, "Hari, you have done A also, B also, C also, D also." Then I realized that I solved everything actually. Instead of that, actually half of that job should be done by me. Instead of that, I have done all the thing actually. That was a little bit, my mistake. But what has happened is that doing that, I was so thrilled even now. I can create maths. Like there used to be algebra, middle term factors, x square minus x minus 6. So the answer will be x minus 2 into x plus 2. So this at that level itself, like this maths I used to create. You can tell me, can you solve this? Okay, solve. And I used to position to do it without any pen and paper or anything of this nature. It's so like any effort. What I have taken that cue from there, that anything you want to do, anything you want to do, that effort, and you really enjoy. And the mother is telling that nothing goes lost. Actually, nothing is waste. As they say, we have just wasted time unnecessarily and all. It is nothing. So it is wrong thing. It is wrong thing. None of the effort will go. It will pay you on some day, at the someday, sometime, without knowing, we'll come to know that it has been paid. So these are all like truth means 100% truth. What mother is telling, these are all realized. All this can be realized by individual if they're sincere enough. Thank you.
Yes, Jatin.
Yeah, Captain, when you were talking, you kind of refreshed my memory. Um, when it comes to effort, I see that, like, I'm talking about myself, that I see it as a very limited thing. Like when I put an effort, let's say I'm learning a software and I put effort towards learning this. In my mind, I am limited to thinking that this effort will only help me with this software learning. And so what happens is, if I lose interest in the software, my effort also diminishes. And the reason I said you refresh my memory is because um, between 2014 and 16, I have written many government exams for competitive exams, and I failed in many, especially in the general knowledge part. But the aptitude, the mathematics, and all that I was learning, I used to say, why am I learning this when I'm failing in general knowledge and in social sciences or social studies? So one of my friend, his name's Srujan. He's a very close friend of mine. He said he would come to my city once in a while and he'd say, although you're failing, this effort will come handy one day. So keep faith. And that did come. 5 years fast forward, and all those learnings did come handy. So that's when I reminded myself that, okay, put an effort not just for this particular thing, but put an effort for the sake of effort. And somehow I forgot about this, Captain. And even these days I'm learning something and I'm thinking, okay, this is just for this. And now when you were talking about your experience, it again refreshed my memory. And yeah, I'm really thankful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Especially when we do things not wanting anything out of them. Like, say Captain shared that he was solving some maths but quiz the whole night. He didn't even, feel asleep. And he said, like you never do when you're doing maths. So a lot of us would not resonate with that, right? Because if it's giving joy, that's so then you don't sleep. But if it's like usually though for a lot of us, maths and all, that would even be more. I don't know, sleep inducing than reading. So it's so different and it's so nice that we can see that whatever gives us joy, we just do it without knowing that what, even if we are not getting anything. And that's the best thing, like mother says, right? Be good for the sake of being good. So somewhat on those lines. Yeah. So this one also talks about what we were just discussing, this passage. If anybody is willing, we can read it and let's see how maybe just three passages should be enough.
Yeah, I'll read, Taru.
Okay.
As with everything in yoga, the effort for progress must be made for the love of the effort for progress. The joy of effort, the aspiration for progress must be enough in themselves, quite independent of the result. Everything one does in yoga must be done for the joy of doing it and not in view of the result one wants to obtain. Indeed, in life, always, in all things, the result does not belong to us. And if we want to keep the right attitude, we must act, feel, think, strive spontaneously for that, for that is what we must do, and not in view of the results to be obtained. As soon as we think of the results, we begin to bargain, and that takes away all sincerity from the effort. You make an effort to progress because you feel within you the need, the imperative need to make an effort and progress. And this effort is the gift you offer to the divine consciousness in you, the divine consciousness in the universe. It is your way of expressing your gratitude, offering yourself. And whether this results in progress or not is of no importance. You will progress when it is decided that the time has come to progress and not because you desire it. If you wish to progress, if you make an effort to control yourself, for instance, to overcome certain defects, weaknesses, imperfections, and if you expect to get a more or less immediate result from your effort loses all sincerity. It becomes a bargaining. You say, see, I am going to make an effort, but that is because I want this in exchange for my effort. You are no longer spontaneous, no longer natural.
Yeah, we'll stop here. I think that's, yeah, thank you for reading.
Thank you.
Now, this is quite a guide, how, in the sense we often get lost, right, as to what I will get, or knowing that, of course, I will get something. And that's always there underlined for most of us, even if we might not voice it, or we might not acknowledge it, or it might be, yes, I know I'll get something, I'll get something, I'll get something. So here, we are being told by the mother that the effort for progress must be made for the love of the effort for progress. The joy of effort, the aspiration for progress must be enough in themselves, quite independent of the result. So everything, she, takes it further. Everything one does in yoga must be done for the joy of doing it. This is where it is like quite contradictory to how we mostly do things, right? Everything, mostly everything we do in our life is like, what will I get, right? What will I get? It's like how we were talking about planning, right? That's how we take it. That because I'll get this, let me you know, bear that or just force myself to go through with that or keep tolerating that. But here in yoga, Mother says, everything one does in yoga must be done for the joy of doing it and not in the view of the result one wants to obtain. Indeed, in life, always in all things, the result does not belong to us. And if we want to keep the right attitude, we must act, feel, think, strive spontaneously. For that is what we must do, and not in the view of the result to be obtained. So to actually do this, we'll have to kind of, stop our natural flows of where is this taking me or where will this lead me, because that is so inherently embedded, talking about at least me. Yeah. Anything on this passage that we have just read? Yeah. So just taking this further, so this was again very nice that whatever effort you make is the gift you offer to the divine consciousness in you, the divine consciousness in the universe. This is your way of expressing your gratitude. So when you're making an effort, that's your way of expressing gratitude, offering yourself. And whether this results in progress or not is of no importance. It's amazing that we taste progress, growth, results, achievements, accomplishments at really high, right? Like this is what I'll get. But she says that even the result for progress is not important. You will progress when it is decided that the time has come to progress and not because you desire it. And mother has said, right, like about effort, like, when she talks about that there's this wall and you just keep pushing it, pushing it, pushing it, or sit silently outside it, when she talks about the psychic being. And she says, one day, without you not even knowing why, suddenly it will come down. So that this kind of resonates with these lines here, that without you knowing, when the time has come, then you will progress. When probably what I had to learn, I have learned. When it's time to learn maybe new things, then I would progress and move forward. And here she says that if you expect to get more or less immediate results from your effort loses all sincerity. It becomes a bargaining. Now that's what we are doing every time, right? Trading, exchanging, doing a business of everything I'm looking or perceiving. So you see, mother says, see, I am going to make an effort, but that's because I want this in exchange for my effort. So when I do this, I'm no longer spontaneous, no longer natural. So I will share this on the group, or should we take it? I don't know. Should we, or we can move to the next passage on the sunlit path.
Yeah, if you can share that would be nice. Thank you.
So I'll share this for whoever would like to read further. So with this passage, the section on, I think, courage, endurance, and effort, it comes to an end. And now the next passage is titled Receptivity and Aspiration. So in this section, the passages are pointing more toward receptivity and aspiration. So we still have time left. So we can easily, oh, that's a big passage. So maybe we can take up what we can take up. We can maybe take first two passages or at least read Yeah, maybe we can break it after. We'll know when to stop. So whoever is willing, if they want to read the universal vital force. Thank you.
I read Taru. Receptivity and aspiration. The universal vital force. Sweet mother, how can one draw on the universal vital force? One can do it in many ways. First of all, you must know that it exists and that one can enter into contact with it. Secondly, you must try to make this contact, to feel it circulating everywhere, through everything, in all persons and all circumstances. To have this experience, for example, when you are in the countryside among trees, to see it circulating in the whole of nature, in trees and things, and then commune with it. Feel yourself close to it. And each time you want to deal with it, recall that impression you had and try to enter into contact. Some people discover that with certain movements, certain gestures, certain activities, they enter into contact more closely. I knew people who gesticulated while walking. This truly gave them the impression that they were in contact. Certain gestures they made while walking. But children do this spontaneously when they give themselves completely in their games, running, playing, jumping, shouting. When they spend all their energies like that, they give themselves entirely. And in the joy of playing and moving and running, they put themselves in contact with this universal vital force. They don't know it, but they spend their vital force in a contact with the universal vital force, and that is why they can run without really feeling very tired, except after a very long time. I knew young people who had always lived in cities. In a city and in those little rooms one has in the big cities in which everyone is huddled. Now, they had come to spend their holidays in the countryside, in the south of France, and there the sun is hot. When they walked around the countryside, the first few days they really began to get a terrible headache and to feel absolutely uneasy because of the sun. But they suddenly thought, why, if we make friends with the sun, it won't harm us anymore. And they began to make a kind of inner effort of friendship and trust in the sun. And when they were out in the sun, instead of trying to bend double and tell themselves, oh, how hot it is, how it burns, they said, oh, how full of force and joy and love the sun is, etc. They opened themselves like this. Mother makes gesture. And not only did they not suffer any longer, but they felt so strong afterwards that they went round telling everyone who said it is hot, telling them, do as we do. You will see how good it is. And they could remain for hours in the full sun, bareheaded and without feeling any discomfort. It is the same principle. It is the same principle. They link themselves to the universal vital force, which is in the sun, and received this force, which took away all that was unpleasant to them. When one is in the countryside, when one walks under the trees and feels so close to nature, to the trees, the sky, all the leaves, all the branches, all the herbs, when one feels a great friendship with these things and breathes that air which is so good, perfumed with all the plants, then one opens oneself, and by opening oneself, communes with the universal forces. And for all things, it is like that. So beautiful.
Thank you for reading that long passage.
But it was very enjoyable,
Yeah.
particularly the countryside. I could refresh all those memories when you go to hillside, and the moment you see the mountains and blue colors in the sky, your arms are stretched like anything. And similarly, this experience is when we go to Pondi and see the ocean, and sitting just close to ocean is so full of healing power.
Yes, thank you. Even Jagan, you were sharing with me something by Dr. Yogesh Mohan, right? One of the experiences he had shared with the son. Would you like to share it? I don't know if you have the capacity to unmute.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Yogesh Mohan was sharing this with my father. Basically, he comes from northern part of India, so it's really cold. And when he came to Pondicherry and or Tamil Nadu as a whole, he felt that the heat was unbearable. So he told, like he shared that he would stand in the, I think in the afternoon, he would stand right under the sun for 1 hour, and he did that for 2 or 3 months straight. When he did that, his body got accustomed to this weather condition, and then he started feeling comfortable even in that weather.
Yes, thank you. So we read a passage on the universal vital force. So the question was, how can one draw on the universal vital force? So I think the first point that Mother says is indeed the most important. That first of all, you must know that it exists and that one can enter into contact with it, right? And I guess this is some learning for all of us, right? There's so many things which we don't even know exist. And when we know, okay, at least, I mean, we have no personal maybe experience, maybe of consciously experiencing it. And yet, when it becomes conscious, just like how anything that say if they say that even fear, right? That it doesn't have any energy. The virus doesn't have any energy. They feed on us. They feed on my energy. So similarly, I know of all the bad things that we had spoken about even last to last week about news and all, right? So if I know about the universal vital force, then it starts existing for me personally also. Just because now I'm conscious of it, how like it's funny also, and yet that is my truth. So, first of all, you must know that it exists, the universal vital force, and that one can enter into contact with it. Secondly, Mother says you must try to make this contact. That now that you know that this contact is possible, you try to make this contact, feel it circulating everywhere, through everything, in all persons and all circumstances, to have this experience, for example. So again, Mother then has given several examples, but the main thing is you must try to make this contact to feel it circulating everywhere through everything in all persons and in all circumstances.
I had one practical experience of this sunlight. About 6 years back, I was in Milwaukee, in the US, and it was midday and a bright sun. So it was not difficult for me to walk. I was coming back from library, and then another elderly gentleman, means elder than me actually, it must be 80 plus, and there what has happened is once we cross each other, people talk unlike in India and all this, we try to avoid, we don't know or something. So there, at least hi, hello, or something, they create something. So here he says, what a bright sunlight, what a bright sunlight day. And, he spoke in such a way, I was enjoying, of course, I was not feeling difficulty in walking, but even my, this thing, awareness increased actually, from his expression. Very positive expression, and he was smilingly actually saying, what a bright sunlight. And as if he has got some the sunlight for us or something like that. I was having the joy, but my joy increased when he says this. Actually, the way he spoke, I still remember that. That sunlight. I always, whatever will be the condition in India, the sun, I don't mind to walk on the sun and all. Nothing happens because I was in the village side and all this, born and brought up there. So I used to work in the field and all this. So sunlight does not affect me. Some people, they say, no, I get allergy, I get this, I get headache, this thing and all this. So that is because of dehydration, or there are so many other reasons actually. Because mentally, if you feel that it is bad for me or something and all this, that also gives a bad effect. Otherwise, the sunlight is definitely the life itself. The sunlight. Thank you.
So mother speaks about, the countryside, how, for example, when you're in the countryside among trees, to see it circulating in the whole of nature, in trees and things, and then commune with it. Feel yourself close to it, and each time you want to deal with it, recall that impression you had and try to enter into contact. We don't have to wait to go to the countryside. We can, do it even with the few trees we have around ourselves in general. Yeah. The mother speaks about certain movements, right? That how when people make certain movements, certain activities, they enter into contact with this universal vital force more closely. Mother says, I knew people who gesticulated while walking, making certain dramatic movements, and this truly gave them the impression that they were in contact. Certain gestures they made while walking, but children do this spontaneously, and we see that, right? We have all seen that when they are excited, when they are happy, when they are in the company of of others who they love, when there's holy, like, my God, like, try to stop a child, like, I don't know, like, once I remember my son was like maybe 5, and that was the first time he was kind of playing holy. We were in a garden, and he didn't eat anything, hardly drank water, and he was playing continuously for 5 hours. And then I had to grab him and take him, and then he just crashed. Then he was like that, I can't even move my finger, for example. But while he was doing it, like, he could have gone on for another hour minimum if I had not stopped him. We have seen this, I think, even for ourselves, right? That the things that give us joy that we were discussing before, we just have this unlimited almost source of energy. How Captain was sharing, when he was doing that maths papers, he was up the whole night and he didn't feel that any lack of sleep or anything. So, children do this spontaneously when they give themselves completely in their games, running, playing, jumping. I think the catch here is when they give themselves completely, right? And the problem with us is that we keep saving ourselves. We know how to pace ourselves. We know in this much I'll feel tired because last time I felt tired in this much. I know how to control and how to calculate. So that is why I get limited and I get restrained. But when children, they give themselves completely in their games, running, playing, jumping, shouting, when they spend all their energies like that, they give themselves entirely, and in the joy of playing and moving and running, they put themselves in contact with this universal vital force. They don't know it, but they spend their vital force in a contact with the universal vital force. So when I am, it appears that, they are spending all their energy, their vital, individual vital energy, but because they are in contact with the universal vital force, that is why they can run without really feeling very tired, except after a very long time. So their mother had shared this example of of some people in France, right, who again didn't like the sun, and then instead of avoiding it, they decided that they'll make friends with the sun, and then it won't harm us. And they began to make a kind of inner effort of friendship and trust in the sun. It sounds so simple and beautiful and pure, and yet it's not something naturally mostly that comes to us, especially, people who have been brought up in cities. So they began to make a kind of inner effort of friendship and trust in the sun. And when they were out in the sun, instead of trying to bend double and tell themselves how hot it is, how it burns, they say, oh, how full of force and joy and love the sun is. So they open themselves, and not only did they not suffer any longer, but they felt so strong afterwards that they went around telling everyone. So it's not that you are just neutralizing the situation, right? That now it's working for you. So something, some energy, some force, some presence which appears to be working against you or giving you problems. When you make friends with it, it actually starts working for you. It's a very interesting phenomena, occurring, happening, possibility that one can experiment with if one hasn't yet consciously seen this happen. Yeah.
Actually, Dr. Anjali was mentioning that on the side of the ocean, it feels so nice and it's beautiful. Actually, this is also the part of the nature and the force there and that energy which you are getting actually. So that gives us that pleasure. Like whenever we visit some temple or somewhere and all this, and if you coolly sit down in one corner for some time on your own without much disturbance or anything of this nature, and then we feel there is some power sort of thing, and you are feeling very happy in that. So there was one professor in 1880 or so. His name was Mahendralal Gupta, Emil Gupta, and he was actually he had a family problem and all this. He decided to commit suicide by jumping on the Ganges or somewhere. So he was going that. Then on the way he met one friend. So that friend says that, what are you doing? Let us go to Dakshineshwar, where Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to be there. So let us go there. So he never knew that Mahendralal Gupta professor, he was initially headmaster in that metropolitan school in Calcutta and all the British time. And then subsequently he became the professor. Actually, he was highly educated, master degree those days. Hardly there was any persons done master degree. So anyway, so he went there and he saw that there is a person, uh, like he looks like the first time he saw the Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He had given a description actually how it was. He was thinking sort of thing. Once we look at a person, now we have formed some idea. So like that, he formed some ideas and all. But subsequently, he became attached to it, attached to him, and all this later on. And it was so that somebody, when Ramakrishna used to speak, then his other disciples, those who are full-time devotees, and they're all student type from that school or somewhere. So they used to note down something, and he says that don't note down. There is somebody who has been destined to do this. It is not your duty. Because whatever you have noted down, you throw it in the Ganges because you are living by the side of the Ganges. So people stopped noting down actually what he was speaking and all. This Mahendradal Gupta, he used to listen carefully, and he had that God-gifted power that he used to remember everything actually. What was the date, time, this, and what he spoke, and who asked questions, and he spoke like this and all. Everything he used to note down in a diary. And later on, it was published after the death of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. It is known as Kathamrita. It is available now in all the languages. It is available. So there, this chap. So when he came to know that Ramakrishna is not, he is human being, hands and legs and all, and everything is there. But he realized after first meeting or second, third, fourth meeting and all that. And when Sunday was to be holiday and all, he used to come there and all. So he realized that he is not a general person, he is an avatar. So Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to come by walk from Kamarpupur, his birthplace, to Dakshineshwar by walk. So once he says that since he has God himself has walked to the path, let me go through that path. So he went. It is about, I just saw in net, it is 85.7 kilometer. It may be about 100 kilometer distance, but by walk. There is nothing like bus or no other transport. So he went and he saw on the way there's a lot of trees and these animals like cats, dogs on the way. But he's just walking through the villages and all. And you see, and he is doing pranam with lifting his hand and doing pranam. He says they are so lucky that they have seen a God themselves. And he's telling the dust which I am putting my leg and walking on this. So I am touching every time that earth and putting on my head. That by God, so you are so lucky that you have realized God through this. Means everything he's seeing as it has turned into the God. So that sort of thought actually he explained in such a way. Maybe he was master degree in language or something. I do not, the way he has written, that everything got purified or transformed, like what Aurobindo says, Sri Aurobindo says, not everywhere, that from the material, like the atom, nucleus, and anything in the dust and all, everywhere that Brahma is there. But we cannot see like scientific eyes, what we have got, the skin, eyes, and all. But that realization that everywhere the presence, that gracious presence actually is there. So unless uh, we get that grace, probably we'll not be able to feel, or we're not in a position to feel. That may be the reason. But there is nothing to disbelieve that no, it does not exist. Actually, the person, those who have realized, they have seen. Yes, it is true. Another sort of divine power. If we have even in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was given that divine power to see when chapter 11, when he was seeing that what all the things can be seen actually which are not seen. And initially when it is starting, the Sanjay was also given that power, who was explaining the battlefield. He was not in the battlefield, but he was in the remote place and where Dhritarashtra was sitting, and Sanjay was given that power. So he is in a position to see the entire battlefield, sitting in that kingdom with King Dhritarashtra. So unless you have that sort of power, divine power, so probably will not be able to see or feel or understand what we are reading and all. Yes, but definitely we are moving on the path. And that's why the name of the book is also the Sunlight Path. Sunlit Path means it is already been light is already there. The path is already sunlit. For me to understand that yes, it has been lighted by the sun, and I have to move in this path without deviation here and there. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Captain. It's so amazing that first, for somebody who has not any connection, a path is ordinary, right? Say anything, say if I'm holding a glass, it's ordinary. And if somebody tells me, oh, mother had this glass in her hand, I'll be like, oh my God, like, what are you talking about? So, and then it's like, again, it is my limitation, right? Because what is not held in the hands of divine? Yeah, because I have to do things in step, right? That first I'll feel fascinated that, okay, this is where the avatar has walked, the God has walked. And then probably one realizes that where is it that the gods have not walked when God is in everything, right? That oneness that we speak about, we learn about, we read about, but probably have not experienced. And yet, it's like how in say stages and phases these things open up for us. It's pretty amazing when you hear these stories. It's very motivating. I remember, I was living in an apartment complex in Gurgaon, and one morning early, like around 5:30 or so, I went down to take a walk. It was quite beautiful. So there was this uncle who, when he looked at me, like it's like, you're walking, so you just cross path, and he looked at me and he did like, the namaste with like full bend, like, how so I was like, what is happening? So I, like, looked behind me. That is there somebody he knows, and there was nobody behind me. So I was like, okay. So then I realized, what is namaste? Namaste is I bow down to the God in you, right? So then I realized later on that whoever he would meet in the morning, I don't know if he did it through the day, I just saw him in the morning, he would actually stop and he would bend like almost I don't know 90-degree down and then come up even if the people are not stopping, like I stopped because I was very surprised, but even if you're just he would stop and he would bend and just acknowledge. I'm assuming I don't know why I never spoke to him. I should have. That would have been a good conversation, I think. But yeah, so this is, this is his way probably. This was his way of connecting with the divine and all. Yeah. Any sharing any last comments before we end today's session? Yes, Nandini.
No, I was just this universal vital energy and the sun. Since we're discussing, I remember it makes me think that there is so much wonder in the universe that's actually waiting for us, and how ignorantly we just live without because because I remember just few years back, I also attended a workshop by Yogi Channel, and he was talking about connecting with the nature, and he spoke about sun very consciously, and he says he uses sun therapy in his healing, and he says that consciously if you make a connect with the sun, and he gave examples of how in Vedic period sun was in Earth Veda, in Rig Veda or in Earth Veda, where sun was actually used as a way of healing very even autoimmune diseases, and he got influenced with what mother had said. And he said on daily basis if you can really connect with the sun. And some people can actually offer water, keep the water outside and leave it in sun and then drink it or something, or you can just maybe just sitting and connecting with it. And that really touched me, that point. Because I remember my mother, when I was small, she used to ask me to go offer the water to the sun. I remember she used to do it, but then of course I didn't do it. And in Ireland, sun is something that everybody cherishes because we don't have it. So every time I used to go out and the rays of the sun hit my face, I always used to say, that I want to make you my friend. I remember I started saying it. That you're my friend and bless me with the splendor that you have or something like that. I used to talk it and made it. But every day whenever I see sun, if I remember, I'll do that. And then I remember I got this cold, really bad cold, which was not going away. And people said, "Oh, are you? Do you have COVID and all?" Of course, I didn't get tested and all, and I took medicine, but it was not going away. I tried steam and everything I did, and I suddenly got reminded of sun, and how it has a healing property. So I thought, okay, let me test it. And then I actually went in front of sun and I just sat down in front of my university and I said, "This sun, this cold is not going away. And I've heard that you have healing property." I actually said it. "Can you please help me?" Like how you say to a doctor. And I just, of course, did some 5 minutes breathing, connecting, and feeling that the rays are actually, like imagination, visualization. And miraculously, the cold went away. For me, that was a big breakthrough. And the second thing I remember when I was getting married here, we were doing a forecast check. And the day that was decided, that day, it was very bad weather. The rain, it has to be rain and everything. And everybody was saying, "Oh my God, that day will be very bad. And I used to feel very sad that, oh my God, it's going to be very hard because here the rain and wind is completely very, very bad. And from very that day, I remember we started invitations, sending few invitations. The first invitation I gave was to the sun. And I said, "Listen, you're my friend, and I want you to be there." And I said it with so much conviction. And every day I used to say it. And this became like a mantra to me. And people used to say, "Oh, it's going to be a bad day or something." I said, "No, no, no, sun will come. I know. I've invited the sun." And even the forecast, even before 3 days, it showed it's going to be. And miraculously that day again, which for me it's a miracle. It was such a beautiful day, and sun was shining from the beginning. I woke up and I felt the sun saying, "Look, I'm here." And towards the end, because for me it mattered because he is my friend. So that connection. And from that moment, I really realized that there's so many wonders around us in this universal vital energy that we're reading. But we don't even bother to connect such small practices, and you can really see the miracles, see the happiness. We're sort of sharing that. How my small practice experiment, whatever.
Yes, thank you, Nandini. Anything from anybody else? So I think we are done. So just it is the same principle. Mother says they link themselves to the universal vital force which is in the sun and received this force which took away all that was unpleasant to them. Maybe if we need to take a slight overlap, we'll do that next week. But yeah, we'll end the session now. So thank you for joining in and thanking Grace for this session, for these words, these forces in action that we are reading through the passages of the Sunlit Path. May we have the courage to believe in these things which are there, but maybe because of my blindness or my intelligence, I keep disregarding them. I don't know who said that, take my intelligence, give me wisdom. So I think that's a beautiful prayer of offering my intelligence and praying for wisdom. Thank you. We'll end today.
Thank you, Taru.
Thank you
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.